Hi there, my name is Carmel Hauck. My student number is T00701793. Today I'm going to explain the supplies and process for a male catheterization. So I have all of my supplies beside me here. We will go through them. So for a 30 kilogram Labrador Retriever, ideally you would have a 10 or 12 French. We have 10 French as the biggest size in clinic. We have this style tube where there are 10 catheters inside. So we don't typically touch them once they come out of this point, but I did take one out just for today's process. So this is my 10 French catheter. For the Labrador Retriever, I did put a pre-measure mark. So if it was in a package where we could pre-measure it, we could lay it on the dog's abdomen beside, and you would visualize having the tip in the bladder, and then you would visualize how much you would need to get through the prepuce out of the body. So I took this one out and it is not sterile, but I have my pre-measure mark at around here or even further. There's not going to be a lot of catheter left outside externally on the dog, just because you'll need most of the length of the catheter to get to the bladder. So that's my pre-measure mark for a 30 kilogram dog. We also have this style of catheter for canines. This is only an 8 French, but it could theoretically be appropriate for the dog, pending, again, how big that bladder is and how long of a catheter you need. So you could use these to measure your bladder as well, but this package is rigid too, so it's a little bit tricky. So that is my catheter I've chosen today. Then I have a pair of sterile gloves, and I have a tube of sterile lube. Typically, we just use a new tube that hasn't been opened before for catheterizations. Then I have my scrub in here. I've got warm gauze with chlorhexidine soap on it, ready to go for the scrub. I have clippers to shave the area if needed. I've got a syringe of sterile saline to use as the final prep on the penis itself. And then I have my syringes. So I have a 3 cc syringe for the discard urine, and then I have a 6 cc syringe for the sample, and a sterile needle to cap the syringe with after we draw the urine. So I'll briefly go through the process. Typically with dogs, you want to restrain them in lateral. Typically with male dogs, you don't need to be sedated. They typically will allow this procedure without. So again, this would be the point where we pre-measure. After you have the dog in lateral, you would lay the catheter onto where you think the bladder tip would be, which is about 5 to 10 centimeters, just cranial from the hip bones. And again, you visualize the curve you would need to get out the prepuce into the external world. So that was my pre-measure mark. Next step would be to clip any fur. So you can gently clip the fur on the prepuce or the surrounding area if needed, or just wet it down and pack it down so that it's not in your way. Just be very careful to not clip too close since it's a sensitive area. At this point, if the catheter is going to be indwelling, you'd want to flush the prepuce, but since this is just for a urine collection, we won't have to do that. Next, we're going to scrub the prepuce itself. So I'm using Chlorhex. So I have my Chlorhex gauze, and you would just take it, and with your Chlorhex, you would keep clean to clean, dirty to dirty, and you would, in a circular scrub motion, scrub the tip of the penis and then work your way around, keeping clean to clean and dirty to dirty. And I have enough scrub for 3 scrubs there. You're going to do 3 times. With chlorhexidine, you don't have to rinse in between, so I don't have anything to rinse with. I just have my scrub in here. And then next we're going to go keep the dog in lateral with your restrainers, and we're going to go wash our hands properly for 30 to 60 seconds. And then we're going to get our catheter open. So typically what we do is we will have somebody open this tube and hand it out to the vet so that the vet can take it sterilely out of the tube. So we don't really open the catheter packaging just with this one. For this one, you would peel the initial part back. You could put your lube on just the tip of the catheter that you'll be inserting. But what we do is we use this tube on our gloves, and then we put the lube on our glove paper instead. So after this portion, we put on our gloves and you'll be sterile. And then after the gloves and opening the catheter, we're ready for the actual insertion. So you're going to gently externalize the penis. So with your non-dominant hand, you'll want to locate the os penis and kind of push it forward with your end nail, and then gently just get the penis extruded from the sheath until it is out. And then at this point, make sure there's no hair in your field or anything that will get in your way. Then we are going to gently dab or spray a bit of sterile saline over the area for the final prep. And you're going to restrain with your non-dominant hand and don't allow the penis to go back into the sheath at this point until you have your urine sample. With your dominant hand, you're going to grab the catheter out from that sterile packaging, and you're going to dip it into your sterile lube, and then you are going to prepare your area. So have an assistant hold the distal end of, well, not really distal end, but the distal end of the catheter, not touching the portion where the syringe will attach, but just below that, so that they can hold on to the end of it for you while you're introducing it into the penis. You are going to find the urethral orifice itself, insert the tip, and start to pass the catheter past the os penis and then around the ischial arch. So you're going to get a bit of resistance both those times until you get into the bladder. Now, you might have urine start to show up into your catheter, but you want to kind of go to that pre-measure mark just so that you can get right into the bladder and not the urethral sample. And then you're going to pass until this pre-measure mark is reached. Urine should flow from the catheter at this point. If you don't have urine, attach your 3cc syringe and just gently aspirate to see if it's near there. If you don't get urine, advance the catheter just a bit further. And if you're still going, stop what you're doing, take out the catheter and revisit the situation. But once you are in and you're getting good flow, you can release the penis, the hold you have on your penis, and let it go back into its sheath and just have the catheter inside there. Then you are going to take your 3cc syringe, just loosen it so you can dump it out onto the counter, attach it, draw 2 mils, that'll be discarded. Then you'll switch to your 6cc syringe, attach it to that site, take your sample that you need, and then to keep it sterile, you'll switch and put a sterile needle onto the syringe so that it stays clean. After that portion, you're going to carefully withdraw the catheter. So you're going to grasp it between your fingers as it exits and just gently pull it out and allow it to slide through your fingers so that you don't splash. And then after the catheter is out, you just want to ensure that the penis is fully retracted back into the sheath. You can clean the area if there's any excess soap on it. And then you'll want to take the dog out to pee so that he can eliminate the rest of his urine in the bladder and check for hematuria with that first pee as well.